Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of ClueCon Weekly. Joining us this week is a full house of people from Sangoma, some old friends of the open source community, and some Sangoma old friends. It's been a while, so let me welcome Josh Kolb, Director of Engineering at Sangoma, Asterisk Project Lead, and we've known each other for a long time at this point. Michael White, Vice President at Sangoma, Elvita Crespo, which is a product marketing manager at Sangoma, and Chris May, the open source solution advocate, also at Sangoma. That was a lot, but thank you very much for joining me. It's been a while, and I'm super happy to have you on.
Thanks for having us.
Well, Asterisk is dear to the heart of most people in the community. I will say, I work with Singawire. We're from the FreePBX side of things, but also I have to say I built my career in Asterisk back in the day. I started with Asterisk, as many people. It's still probably the most used PBX building block in the world. I will say there's no competition with number of installs. So first of all, thank you for joining us. Maybe we could start with a quick round of introductions, just so we have a little bit more context. So maybe we'll start with Josh.
Sure. Hi, everybody, people out there in the void watching this. Like Lucas said, my name is Joshua Culp. I've been part of the Asterisk project since I think about 2002 or 2003. So I've been around for over 20 years, done development on it, and I'm now the project lead, which is basically a way of saying I figure out what Sangoma's working on, what new stuff we're making, what we're fixing, and interact and help with the Asterisk community, as well as facilitate other open source stuff at Sangoma. So that's primarily what I do.
Good. All right, Michael.
Hi there, Michael White, Vice President of Open Source here at Sangoma Technologies. Just some quick background on me. I joined Sangoma in 2020 via acquisition. Many people from the FreeSwitch, Asterisk, FreePBX communities may know me from E4. In my former life, I had the luxury and luck of building a solid business and career around Asterisk and all the tools in the open source space. And now as the VP of open source here, I get to help other people and businesses do that exact same thing.
Good. Chris?
Yeah, my name is Chris May. I started with Asterisk, I think around the same time maybe Josh did, but I've been playing with it for a number of years, FreeSwitch as well. I was running a consultancy, Penguin PBX Solutions for a while, but have since put the Sangoma hat on since August of this year. So about 4 months now as the open source solutions advocate. So my role is to help out on the forums. I've been lacerated in some bug reports, some security issues, marketing, lots of different areas within the company. It's really amazed me how big Sangoma is and how many places in real-time communications that they do touch and how much open source software that we utilize. It's been excellent. So trying to get the word out about that more and really looking forward to AstriCon and heading that up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and last but not least, Elvita.
Hey, I'm Elvita Crespo. I'm a product marketer at Sangoma. I've been Sangoma for 6 years, but actually I guess I was introduced to the open source side of telephony about 10 years ago. I was part of the Elastics project, which used to run for PBX. So I've known all these people for a while now.
Yeah, we've all, in fact, most of us have been around each other for a while at this point. We're interacted at various points during the careers because it's not so, I always say that at ClueCon, AstriCon, a kind of event, it's the same 300-ish people every time. So it's just a kind of a family, which is great. Well, before we go into AstriCon, which is the interesting portion here, because it's conference has been done, it has gone through many changes and many iterations. What's going on with Asterisk right now? Could you give us a state of the union on the project?
Oh, a state of the project? I can give a short, quick one. There will be a longer one as part of AstriCon. I always do at the end of the conference, going through the past year and what happened and what we're working on next and that kind of thing. But some interesting stuff. We incorporated some changes and improvements as a result of our other products, Community, FreePBX, and some other things, improving performance there. We've also been working on some AI stuff over the past year, learning about that. figuring out where Asterisk actually fits in and where we can improve things, which will come up at AstriCon as part of the roadmap. So it's been a lot of performance, incorporating changes from other stuff, and then AI, AI, AI. At this point, none of us can avoid AI in any capacity.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's changing the landscape for sure. I have to say, I'm probably one of the most skeptical about some use cases for AI, but some others do work really well. So it's
Yeah. Just to end on that. Yeah, it's at this point, it's a weekly occurrence on our forums about AI integration in some capacity. So keeps on going.
what are people? I mean, I'm curious to hear at AstriCon what's going on with that, because I'm really, again, I see an integration as a product to be useful. Sometimes integration in an open source platform, since there's no open source AI, it's been a little bit confusing to me. But we can certainly, I'm sure that's going to get covered at AstriCon. Speaking of which, AstriCon. Well, why don't we start with a little bit of history, though? How long has AstriCon been going on in some form? Because I remember speaking at AstriCons that were many years ago.
That's a good question. It predates me to a degree. Um, I'll go a bit of history, actually. I don't know the date, but I can say that AstriCon itself originally started as a result or as part of an outside company and not part of Asterisk itself, really, or Digium back in those times. It was Steve Sokol and Associates who put it on, and then it came under the Digium umbrella afterwards. But does anyone else remember how long it's been going?
It's been at least since 2009. That was my first AstriCon in Phoenix, and then 2011 in Denver, and then I only went last year. So I've only been to 3. I think others here have probably been to more than I. But so sometime in the early aughts, would be maybe around 2005. We should pin it down. Might be a little bit before that, before the first ClueCon, I would think, which was, I recall correctly, 2005.
I think
So
it's
we
1 year earlier.
Then
So yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So probably 2004. You're right that, but nobody here knows because it's so far
Yeah.
back. But you're right that it has to be at least 1 or 2 years before ClueCon, which I know is 2005.
I think one of the interesting things is that I mean, these projects have become somewhat ubiquitous throughout the telecom sector. I mean, there's so many times you call into a system and hear Allison's voice, or where this is going because it's a free PBX or it's an Asterisk or even a free switch hosted system. I recognize that hold music. Maybe the IVR prompts are a little different, but so one thing I'll plug in for hold music on. We're stretching out AstriCon to 3 days this year, the 11th and 12th and 13th of February. The first day is going to be a little bit more of a training and sort of a help get started, because we are part of ITExpo and there's 7,000 attendees at ITExpo. So it's a pretty big event that a lot of people can just filter into. We're next to the lunch ballroom. So very popular track for people to come into the keynotes there right next door to us. And that first day will be some training and a little bit of more how-tos and sort of intro type situations or classes for MSPs. And then in the afternoon, a little bit more fun social activities. And so some competition, some friendly cooperative work. Hopefully one of those I mentioned, hold music. Time for an update. Recently been looking at a lot of public domain archives and tracks that when copyright expires, those get released on the Internet Archive after a large number of years. I think it seems like almost 100 years now. And, to mix those in and just play with it for a bit would be, a fun event to have a lot of people come to if you are planning to attend and work on that. And maybe have a few more new tracks, because I think some of the hold music is about predates AstriCon. So it'd be nice to have an update for everybody. So
I have a date. September of 2004 was the first AstriCon, and at that, Asterisk version 1.0 was released.
So we're doing live research now here.
Hey, we have the internet. We might as well use it.
Yeah,
You beat me to it.
Yeah. So yeah, 1 year before, and well, so it's 21 years. So last year was the 20th anniversary.
Yep.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
the 25th anniversary of the first release of public release of Asterisk. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, 2024.
So 1999 was the start of Asterisk as we know it today. There was an earlier version of Asterisk that basically no one knows existed. But yeah, this is technically going off in fun facts now, but such is life. This is technically the second version of Asterisk, Asterisk NG, it's called. There was a prior one where everything was hard coded in C.
Nice.
But yeah, it is. It's been a while. So I'll go. I say this. The original author of Asterisk was Mark Spencer, right?
Yes.
When did you come in, Josh? Because I think you've been there for a very long time.
I want to say 2005 is when I became part of Digium. Sounds about
Yep.
right.
Yeah, sounds about
Yes,
right.
I left where Tony and Brian and others were working and went to Digium to work on Asterisk.
Yeah.
So additional fun fact, I did technically help a bit on the first version of FreeSwitch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. I was working on it when Tony was working on it.
Well, I'll ask him later, and we'll take a look at the commits. No, probably not even won't be commits. Like it's been a long time, so it's much. So yeah, going back to AstriCon, is there any events people need to sign up to before they come over? Can people just join and it's gonna and is there any registration needed? Anything else people need to know? What are the main events? That kind of stuff. So what's going on there?
Yeah, I'll take it. The main, 3 days, one pass, so you can come to any or not. The second 2 days are going to be focused on more traditional talks and speaking slots, so those are pretty full days. And what we've tried to do is line up the schedule accordingly to other ITExpo events, and so you'll be able to pop in and out a little bit more easily as long as everything's running on time. But we're not going to keep you there over lunch with the middle of some presentation. All the meals are allocated for and our planning this year. So you'll have one pass though gets you into everything at ITExpo with the AstriCon pass. So I think it's around I think early bird registration is closed, so $500. But it's Florida in February. Everybody likes to go. Fort Lauderdale, the convention center is getting a lot of updates. It's holds even more people, so I think there's more opportunities to mix and mingle with a lot of these MSPs who haven't necessarily heard about. They've been reselling some third party, and underneath the hood is FreeSwitch or Asterisk or FreePBX. They don't really know that necessarily. It's been so much abstracted, but they might be looking to become voice service providers, and so there'll be a lot of folks filtering in from that angle. So this is a good opportunity if you are, an independent, open source developer to come in and to meet those people who might be looking for, that kind of talent. So there'll be networking opportunities throughout. Your pass gets you into those events. I think the Marriott on the Beach on Thursday evening is the main networking event. So this pass covers that as well. But we do have a number of speakers from around the world coming. And we also have, if you're not looking to, commit to that for a few nights, we have a virtual Asterisk conference a couple weeks before at the end of January. So that last week, you can look on the website and sign up for that. We'll have about 5 or 6 presenters who will be, presenting from Africa and Europe. A fellow from Europe who's bringing 100-year-old phone systems to life. Very difficult to get 100-year-old phones on the plane in bulk. So that will be a virtual conference track. And then some other people who do other virtual conference events. That's available for free and open to everybody to click in and join live. And so kind of what your appetite then, to come AstriCon a couple weeks later. But it's a huge expo floor with a lot of different vendors. I'd say in 2024, my rough assessment, didn't take it, but I think somewhere around 10% of the booths that were actually selling some type of Asterisk, type system, and whether it be their own, a lot of on top, or they're reselling it, or they've, added a few other things to integrate with some other technologies, but changed the front end to be Spanish or whatnot. So they had a lot of different groups there, and then a lot of cool phone vendors and stuff like that. So it's nice to see what the latest desk phones look like, and a lot of focus on 5G integrations and failovers and things like this. So overall, like a huge expo hall with a lot going on and a lot of these different tracks. So I think there's probably another AI track this year, a couple MSP tracks, a couple of security track type discussions led by various different companies. And so it's a big event, and it's nice that AstriCon is just one part of that. So we take advantage of a lot of extra eyeballs that we might not get from doing our own thing in a hotel. Granted, those are great activities too, and we definitely want to move that and maybe look at other events elsewhere that we can head to Latin America and have an event there. We have a lot of Asterisk users there, and do something where it's just kind of focused on Asterisk. But definitely AstriCon is its own entity and own thing. We have our own space, but we'll get people who just wander in and be like, what is this? And it's just a really great cross pollination opportunity. So that's what I think is really fun about it. So but you'll get a lot more a lot more bang for your buck coming in person to this kind of a conference. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, from a open source project management and member perspective, how does it feel like to walk into a place like ITExpo and knowing that almost everybody is using Asterisk in some shape or form? Because that's the magnitude. Like, it is literally all of them. So it is. Does it feel good, or to a degree, does it feel like hey, people should contribute more? Because that's the remark I do get.
Yeah, it's both sides. I do wish they would contribute and help out in waves, um, but usually they don't. Sometimes they ask for help and I notice and I still help them. But contributions would always be nice. It would be help, even if people at these companies just were on the forums helping other people. That would also be great contribution. It doesn't have to be code to contribute to any open source project. I also wanted to add something on the AstriCon stuff. We will be recording the talks as well at AstriCon.
Yeah.
There are cases where people can't attend or don't want to travel and that kind of thing. So we will be making those available on YouTube as well. So people don't feel left out from the actual content itself as well.
Good, yeah, it's always great, and I feel like after COVID and after the pandemic, we've all been doing more hybrid stuff, just because it feels like almost the right thing to do, right? And it's expanded horizons. I've certainly watched talks that I wouldn't have not gone to the conference for because it was one talk, but then hey, why not? I'll look at this, and it's absolutely great. Well, going back to the contribution stuff, since we always try to keep something for the open source community in scope, how can people help? Are you looking for something in particular? Do you need C programmers? Everybody does. So
Yes, everyone needs C programmers across the world. Essentially, ways that I'm looking for contributions are code review. Everything that goes into Asterisk goes into public code review. There is no specialty of people, not even myself. I don't directly commit to the tree or anything. It all goes through code review, so eyes on that. Our documentation is also completely open, so people can submit pull requests against that. So if there's something you want to document or improve, that is also something that can be contributed. As well, we have community forums at community.asterisk.org, and a nice, simple way to contribute there is to just spend an hour a week or a few minutes responding to things that interest you or that you can provide help on. And of course, spreading the word of Asterisk is also good. Always looking for that as well. You have any ideas, Chris?
I'll add, yeah, Josh, your idea, the security reporting updates. Josh has done a lot of work with that company-wide, actually, at Sangoma to help improve those processes in GitHub. And so we've really standardized. He's really helped organize that to standardize how we handle those CVEs. And so, if you do find something that just to shout out that is a security issue, anything at Sangoma, there are many different project repositories for this, and the Asterisk and FreePBX both have specific, we have specific security reporting areas, and doing that in GitHub allows us to work together on resolutions, apply for the CVE, give you proper credit, help, organize the approach to publicly announcing it. And so gives all the other users then some time to, take a breath and get the fix that's going to solve the problem, and before an exploit is in the wild. And so, by following that process and working with us through GitHub on the security reporting, you're helping out your fellow, open source users throughout the community. And so that's really the benefit there. But happy to also work on documentation updates, the Sangoma knowledge base, internal wiki pages. We use in an Atlassian stack. And so for some of the more static things in the FreePBX side, occasionally there's a few documents with Asterisk, but the Asterisk documentation is a standalone project in GitHub that I think there's some updates pending for that, but happy to work on those updates as well. And if there are things that we find sometimes in the forum, a user puts together a great tutorial, that's something that we'll go ahead and work with them to publish in the knowledge base, so it's a little bit more static and just doesn't sort of fall down the forum topic list, that the next time someone searches for it, they can really find it there instead of having to weave their way through a party to find where was that thread. They can go to the Atlassian and then to the knowledge base there, the Sangoma KB. I think another great way is to try out and offer to test some of these features. We definitely have a lot of threads that come up where we're trying to find people to test specific things in their own environment. There's so many permutations of the software that it's very difficult sometimes to meet all those. So that's great as well. Just trying to download the RC and give it a whirl in your test environment. One of the topics I'll be talking about on that first day of the training and discussion at AstriCon is on using some virtualization techniques to speed that up, so that I'll typically be in my development environment working with several different VMs, spinning up an ISO, Debian, and installing Asterisk in it, whether it's through some sort of Ansible-ized installer or it's off of, some of our other installers to, work through those steps and testing it and whatnot. So be talking about Cube's OS particular, another great open source project where it's really easy to spin up VMs and virtualize and still have a desktop environment. Not always the cleanest video. I'm actually on my Debian 12 standalone machine now for video production efforts, but anyhow, it's just that kind of sharing of those ideas and how you can help speed up that process, because CPUs are so fast now. It seems like I blink and it's compiled, but if I need to install an ISO, it's still time to go get a cup of coffee before I come back.
There is another talk at AstriCon as well, from Alex Balashoff about using Asterisk for testing call scenarios as well, if people are interested in testing stuff as well.
Wow, I need to come see that. I'll be
Hey,
next
Chris.
door.
Yeah, Chris was mentioning FreePBX quite a lot, and I just wanted to reassure everyone listening that, ever since Sangoma's umbrella covers both communities, anyone is welcome, because I feel like historically AstriCon has been deemed as such a low-level, super technical event that some people may be intimidated by it, but I just want to, reach out to other people as well from the FreePBX or on the user side of the community that they're also welcome. Like we'll be talking about use cases and a lot of interesting stuff for people who are not as super technical as, I don't know, Josh and Chris here.
Yeah, so well, then looking forward to this. Like it's been a while since I've been to AstriCon. I spoke to 3 or 4. Last one was probably in Arizona, so it was a while ago. For next year, I'll make sure I get a talk in. didn't get to it, but it's if you accept a free switch talk, that is, because it's all I know.
I was gonna say from a talk perspective, the criteria is basically anything within the industry of communications. So you can do free switch, you can do free PBX, you could do, I don't know what else. We're kind of running out of open source communication stuff at this point.
I would love to see some of that conf file parsing from FreeSwitch. I never really poked at it much, and when I feed an Asterisk dial plan into a FreeSwitch, how's that parse out lately? But yeah, you guys, you do a lot of great work. It's always nice to see all the back and forth and ideas that happens, and I think we're really leaders in this area, and it's happy. It's hopefully we can make it to ClueCon as well. So
yeah, well, that'd be super great. Yeah, one thing I remember is a time when Tony spoke to AstriCon for the first time. At the time, it was a big deal. It was almost fun to me, but it was really it was like the news of the week was that Anthony Minisali had spoken at AstriCon. It was been 2015 or 16. It was a while. Like it's before
that was Arizona, I believe, right?
Yeah, probably that one. Yeah, I was there too. Yeah, it was.
I want to say that was 15 or 16.
Yeah, you're right. It was really the talk of the day that it happened, and it was really it was great. I mean, it's always good to see people the open source world is too small and it's too much help to just bicker back and forth. In fact, Josh, if you want to come, or anybody from Sangoma want to come join us at ClueCon, we'll get you a talk. Worry about it. There's always a lot to be filled, and I'm happy
Chris
to
is
not
working
be the one
on
who
it.
does it.
Yeah, so we are planning to attend ClueCon this year. I would have probably attended more in the past, but you guys always put this directly on my wedding anniversary date. So not that I would ever expect it to change. So yeah, it's been tough for me to come, but I think we're gonna have the opportunity to be there this year.
Yeah, I started at the end of August, and I know y'all have it the beginning of August, so it's on the calendar now. But
yeah, I mean it's early this year. It's August 4th to 7th, so I hope it's not too much of an overlap with your wedding anniversary. I always narrowly escape the same problem with ITExpo, because my anniversary is the start of February, so it is really
well, this year, yeah, we're ending on the 13th, and so you'll have the 14th to get back to your Valentine, or to bring your Valentine along with you, and have a couple extra days in Florida for the weekend. So not a complete clobber of that holiday this year. So
Back in the day, it used to be like end of January or something, right? Or is it just me? ITExpo.
maybe.
Yeah, it falls. It's been all over. Cool. So, looking forward to meeting you all in Fort Lauderdale, and feels like it's going to be a very, very fun time. And we'll be next door. So, if you want to come go talk to Sangoma, then come talk to me about FreeSwitch. We'll have fun. We'll share war stories. There's a lot going on there. I did work on Asterisk back in the day. There's a couple patches that might not be any in the code base anymore, but we did do a lot of that. So it's really interesting. Well, I'll ask Josh one technical question. What's next for the project feature-wise? Are you working on anything in particular aside from AI? Anything technical that you want to share?
From a technical perspective, focus is on ARI, the Asterisk REST interface, for building telephony applications externally, and essentially making it easier to do that for scaling applications and also transporting media around for AI purposes. So one of the things, I'll just talk about one thing that we're doing. which is traditionally for ARI, an application has had to connect to Asterisk over a WebSocket. You can only have one connected for each application. We're going to be adding support for flipping that, so you can have Asterisk connect out to an application, either one WebSocket for an application or per call, allowing you to load balance using a standard HTTP load balancer that does WebSockets. So you can scale up and scale down using serverless, as well as encapsulating the actual HTTP requests over that WebSocket. So everything gets bundled together. Essentially, it's should end up a nice way to scale up and down telephony applications and make it easier to deploy them and update them.
Yeah,
If I-
scale seems to be the name of the game, so everybody is looking for that
I'll
kind of.
get the tiny bit of FreePBX technical plug as far as APIs are concerned. GraphQL has really seen a lot of improvements last couple versions of FreePBX, and so a lot more programmatically you can do with FreePBX as well. So, and just had a similar move over to GitHub. FreePBX did, and Debian 12, big jump from CentOS to Debian 12 for FreePBX 17. So we'll be talking a lot more about that, at AstriCon as well, and a lot more work there in the future too. So.
Oh, you ported over. You changed the Linux distribution.
Yeah. When CentOS went AOL last summer, it was sort of the prompt to move, and I think this decision was made at Sangoma probably late 2023, maybe, or early 2023 to move to Debian. I'm not sure, predates my time, but steps were moving in that direction, and so it's been a big jump. A lot of internal plumbing updates. Still, the front looks the same. You wouldn't, very similar from 16 to 17, but underneath, quite a few jumps to move it from CentOS 7 to Debian 12 Bookworm, and that'll be continuing for a while as we sort of try to line up releases a little bit more with the Debian world. So
It only feels like Debian is becoming the only Linux distribution. I don't want to say it out loud, but it really sounds like it's a reality. Like we are also run on Debian, and
it's just because they've stuck true to what they've set out to do and haven't really how do I put this? Haven't really shaken up things, unlike CentOS and Red Hat and that whole world. So,
you're right. That's a good way to put it. Debian is done, almost quotes. So you don't really doesn't need to do anything more. Just update it. It's a good baseline. Yeah, CentOS, I never fully grasped what the end game was for them. So it's one day I'll have someone from the project on, just so I can ask them. It's been weird all the way. The commercial versus open source model, the fact that it makes the two, you never know what you're gonna get. It's not super easy to understand. So I understand the move.
Yeah, definitely. Some work. That Debian now, and if it isn't Debian, it's it's Ubuntu. It's a it's a Debian derivative, and so there's so many users who come into it from that angle. So I think we're really able to expand the user base quite a bit too, and potentially reach a lot more Debian Ubuntu developers. That seems to be like it has been a go-to for a lot of educational situations, and so younger people coming up who are more versed in those OSs too is going to help with longevity as well. So it was really, I think, a great decision by Sangoma. One of the things that helped motivate me to join as well, the company, to see it move in that direction with FreePBX. So
well then, FreePBX is going to be fun too. It's I've used that for a long time. Like I haven't been poking at it for a while, but it's been really well. It is a great platform. So it's probably the best. I want to go out and say, and I'll get the Fusion people mailing me the moment I say that. But it's probably the best open source PBX solution out there.
All right.
Here.
All right.
Amen,
All right.
sir.
Out. Over and out.
Me, I don't want to say it's the only one, but it's so far ahead that it's hard to justify using something else. If you're looking for that, if you're looking for FreePBX. In fact, I'll say that we recently started an internal project to build an open source contact center based on SignalWire, just as a demo on how to use the API. It's not supposed to be its own thing. It's not a competitor to FreePBX. But the first thing I did is I spun up a FreePBX box, and I've been showing my team, it needs to be like this. It needs to be like this. It needs to be like this. So that speaks to the quality. It's just awesome, and it really, really does a lot of important stuff. So thank you for managing that, and well, looking forward to seeing more.
Yeah, I mean, the folks on this call, I mean, we definitely help a lot with that. There are so many people involved in the, the QA and the development processes on that internally. It's kind of blowing my mind, like that, what levels we need to get to, is I don't know what class of engineering organization it is, but, to keep that going and to keep that consistent, and make these improvements, and still allow so many plugins for people who want to extend things. I mean, you can write a custom extensions file, slip it in if you need to, talk a certain way. And there's so many third-party module developers that you can, tie in with to do all sorts of extra things that, maybe FreePBX, isn't currently doing stock, but it's been really a robust platform, for a while, and with all the updates and security, just to keep that moving along and making sure that it's working on the latest PHP and latest Debian has been a lot of a lot of improvements and a lot of work there too. So
all right, PHP. So you did have your own set of fun things going on to update the PHP. That's
yeah, a lot of variables that needed to be filled in. So.
Yeah, it is. I mean, everybody loves PHP, but it's. I think, for the record, I think Node.js right now is just the same thing over again. Like, there's a lot of people coming in. There's a lot of people doing things, so it's hard to tell what's good and what's not. But PHP has always been a solid platform for me. I don't even know how long. Well then, I think we're getting to a close. And thank you for joining us today. It was a pleasure meeting you. It's been a while. Looking forward to meet you at ITExpo, which I'm super happy to go to at this point, even more than I was before. And well, thank you for joining us. And looking forward to hearing more about Asterisk, hearing the talks from Sangoma, and seeing what's going on.
Thanks
for having us.
Thanks, Luca. Yeah. See you in a couple of weeks.
And so before one last thing, can you just repeat the dates from when the two conferences are? So when is the virtual one?
Elvita, do you have those?
Yeah, the virtual one goes from January the 28th to the 30th, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I think that's it, yeah. And
then AstriCon is from the 11th to the 13th. Is that right, Chris?
Yes. Yeah.
That is correct.
Perfect. We'll make sure those are in the video description, so they'll be there for people who need the information.
Yeah, and in the virtual conference, a couple of those, given the time differences, are going to be quite early in the morning. So something with your coffee at 7 a.m. Eastern, I think, maybe sooner on a couple of those days in the virtual track.
I'm in Europe, so it works for me.
Oh, great!
means I can be there a little bit more leisurely. Okay, so again, thank you very much for joining us, and looking forward for both the virtual conference and seeing you in person at AstriCon. And well, thank you so much.
Thanks again.